So we are in the section form, which is the prime duty of the government is to serve and protect people. Government may call upon the people to defend the state, and in fact fulfillment thereof all citizens may be required under conditions provided by law to render personal, military, or service. So earlier, that's what I've been mentioned, that as students we should as much as we can, we should participate ROTC, or if not ROTC, CWTS. But much better if the student have time to enroll ROTC. It's much better because students are well trained regarding for the ROTC trainings and what are the doings compared to CWTS. So section 5, maintenance of peace and order. Why is it there's a maintenance of peace and order? It's because there are many criminals and murders. There are many innocent child, in an early age, starting 3 years old until teenage years. There are many people who are criminals, rape innocent children, and it's so sad to think. And there are also many criminals rob citizen of the Philippines that work so hard to provide the needs of their family. But it's so sad that it's our Filipino people who are trying to kill just for the sake of getting the money. Why don't they find some job to support their family? So it's so sad to think, because even in other country there are many criminals, but in Philippines it's very terrible because of the poverty of our country. And mostly of poor people, especially in the poorest of the poor, they have so many children, which is, it's very important that the government will find a way to interact and communicate the people, especially in the squatter area, that limiting children. Because for if a parent's mother and the father only have their only income is only their work, and they don't have extra income, and they have 5 children, how can they support the needs of their children, especially their education, if they have 5 children? So it's very hard. And the amount of money right now is very little. Like, for example, 1,000 pesos. Before, you can buy so many things, but right now it's very little. So yeah, so that's why it's very important for the maintenance of peace and order. It's not Peace and order is not only for the rich people. Even in middle class and lower class citizens of the our country should have this maintenance of peace and order, because it needs to protect the life, liberty, and property, and promotion of the general welfare, essential to the enjoyment of the people by the blessings of democracy. So we are so blessed that our country had a democracy, because other country, they are communist country, which is they follow the government. The advantage having communist country is that the government paid the education of the students, health, for example, hospital bills and everything. That's the advantage of the communist. But you don't have any decision for yourself. So we should use democracy in a good way. So section 6, the separation of church and state shall be inviolable. So in the decision of the government right now, the church is also making an opinion, and sometimes it's below the belt. Like, you've been wondering, why did that priest do such acts like that? Like, for example, like the presidency, before the election, like they use the church to endorse their what is the politicians that they wanted to. So church is only for supposedly it's only for church is there in order that we have like a special spiritual needs, but the people, or let's say the pastor or the priest into the church, they use their power in order to making an statement that the people should believe in them, and it's not a good one for me. It's not a good one. So whatever religion, because me, I'm not well, I my parents is Roman Catholic, but right now I'm not a Roman Catholic, I am a Christian. So I'm against to that, and it's so sad to think. Yeah. So let's proceed to section 7. The state shall pursue an independent foreign policy in its relations with other states. The paramount consideration shall be national sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, and the right to self-determination. State shall pursue an independent foreign policy. So by the word independent foreign policy, like how we can decide are independent in foreign policy by the word foreign. So it's not within our country, but decision independence, like if a Filipino wanted to work abroad, there are laws for our OFWs. If they are being abused, there is an OWA that they can calling for help if ever that they are abused by their like for example, if the person going to other country and it's OFW and it's a domestic helper and abuse their amo, or the what you call that, their boss, abuse them physically, verbally, emotionally, mentally. So that's the reason why there is a independent foreign policy. This is for our OFW Filipino people. So section 8, the Philippines, consistent with the national interest, adopts and pursues a policy of freedom from nuclear weapons in its territory. So we all know that nuclear weapons is very harmful, not only in our country but also in other country. As far as I know, North Korea, they have a nuclear power. That's why there are other countries that they are afraid of North Korea, because if the Prime Minister of North Korea got mad, and it will be, we don't have any power to that. So it's very important that we should not, as much as possible, we should not interfere or make the North Korea or other country that has a nuclear weapon, as much as possible we should maintain peace and order. So that's for the section 8. So section 9, state shall promote a just and dynamic social order that will ensure the prosperity and independence of the nation and free the people from poverty through policies that provide adequate social services. So promote full employment. So it's very important that the poorest of the poor, they have government should gonna find a way to these people should gonna find some job, so that in order that they will have to bread and butter for their family. That's why for example, the government made a job fair in order that if there's a people who are unemployed, they can go there and they can pass their resume so that they're gonna find a job, because the rate of unemployment is very it's increasing, and it's so sad to think. And people should gonna find some ways, not only rely on the government, but they should also find ways to support themselves, to make a dream, to make their good living, something like that. Yeah. So we already done with the section 9. And then section 10, the state shall promote social justice in all phases of national government. So social justice is very important. Justice is very important for our national government. As I said, It's not only for the rich, but it's also applicable in the poorest of the poor and also in the middle class. So Section 11, the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. So we have a dignity for each and every one of us, and we should also respect in full for our human rights. So human rights is very important. So it's a big debate regarding for the human rights, especially like the war on drugs, that there are other Filipino people, there are organizations that are protesting what is the decision of President Duterte have made, because the criminals don't have any voice to do their part to protect themselves, and other criminals are already been dead because of the tokhang or the war on drugs. So it's a big debate regarding with this one, but thankfully it's stopped about that tokhang, the criminals that are attending this kind of act, especially drugs, is they just been caught by police and go into the jail, which is a good one because they're still alive, compared to the tokhang, which is they've been caught in the act and doing something, or they've been raided at home and they've been killed by police. So Section 12, the state recognizes the sanctity of family life and shall protect and strengthen the family as a basis autonomous social institution. It shall equally protect the life of the mother and the life of unborn from conception. The natural and primary right and duty of parents in the rearing of the youth, of the civil efficiency and the development of moral character shall receive support from the government. So this Section 12 is for the mothers, unborn from mother and the life of the unborn from conception. So if ever like if there is a problem regarding for the pregnancy and the parents, especially the mother, struggling for the finances, they can go to the government and ask for social workers to ask some help regarding for the payment of the bills, and government will help that in any form, as long as that people or that mother will gonna find some ways or not being shy to ask help from the government. Section 13, the state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. So our youth had a big role in our country because they are still young. They should make an impact in our government. They should gonna find a way that they will be a good citizen in our country. They will gonna find a way to as being a youth, they will gonna do some activities that will help the government. For example, cleaning the road, or planting a tree, or donating, something like that. So that's an example of what are the youth can help in our government. So Section 14, the state recognizes the role of women in nation building and shall ensure the fundamental equality before the law of men and women and men. So before, men had greater power compared to women, but right now the women gonna find some ways to make a make had the equal rights of men. So right now there are many working women, even though they have a family, they try to find some work to help their husband or their partner in order that they can support their needs of their children. So it's very important that if you're a woman, especially if you're a mother, you're gonna find some ways to earn way of living, to have like if there's no, if the mother is not working or is not employed, at least there's another like source of income. So the government use like helping mothers out there to start business. but much better that the women should gonna find some ways that to find work, because not all the time government will gonna help them. So that's what happened to me. I work, I study, I do my, although sometimes I can't reach what is the thing needed. Sometimes I'm late, or I can't attend everything on my hand, but I'll try my best to make much as possible that I can attain whatever needs to be make. So that's it. So Section 15, the state shall protect and promote the right to health of the people and instill health consciousness among them. So what I can say about the Section 15 is about the PhilHealth. Like for example, if you're poor and you had like a cyst and needed to be removed and you need to surgery and you don't have money, so if you have a PhilHealth, or if you don't have a PhilHealth, like the example here is the Soto Hospital, which is they can help, and there is also Malasakit, which is zero amount payment. So myself, I tried that one when I was 23 years old. I undergo surgery, which is ovarian cyst surgery operation, and it's a major operation actually, because my tummy that time is so big, and thankfully it doesn't reach up to the point that it's benign. It's not cancerous, it's not malignant. My ovarian cyst is not malignant, thankfully. So I mean, myself, it applies to me. The government helped me. I have a PhilHealth that time, and have I think it's only like 3,000 to 5,000. I don't know the exact amount, but there's a little payment, but it's only little because the PhilHealth covers the surgery or the amount. So it really helps. That's why we Filipinos, we should get PhilHealth as much as we can. If ever we are sick, or if we have a family, if we have children, we can use our PhilHealth to cover the billing expenses. So that's what it says here in Section 15. Section 16, the state shall protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature. So we Filipinos, we should not abuse our nature, because what happens right now is there is the climate change, and that's the reason why it's abusing our nature. So we Filipinos, we should gonna find ways to lessen whatever activities that will harm in our nature. Like for example, if you go to grocery, much better if you have like an eco bag or something, or your backyard or your house outside, there are plants, so that it will be balanced. Next to it is Section 17. The state shall give priority to education, science and technology, arts, culture and sports to foster patriotism and nationalism, accelerate social progress and promote total human liberation and government. So what I can say about here is that it's the government tried to do their best right now, and there are many scholars, but 10 years ago it's only limited regarding for scholarship. So there are many people before, they wanted to pursue their education, but their family can sustain, or even themselves they can sustain or pay the tuition fee. So it's very right now it's so very we should be thankful, because there are many scholarships out there. Aside from the universities that's offering a free tuition, there is also politicians that is offering helping the allowance of the students, as long as you can comply what is the needed to become a scholar, to get the scholarship coming from the politician, congressman, mayors or vice mayors. So Section 18, the state affirms labor as a primary social economic force. So by the word economic force, it's how the government, what is the performance of our economic, if it's rising, if it's increasing, if it's decreasing. So it's very important that the government should also monitor our economic force, social economic force, rights of workers, and promote their welfare. So as a worker, there is also rules and regulation regarding for the welfare of the employees, not only for the welfare of the company. So section 20, state recognizes the indispensable role of the private sector, encourages private enterprises, and provides incentives to needed investments. So as the word private sector, they should comply, or they should also provides incentives to needed investments. So for example, there is some investments, and then it should be also for the welfare of the government as well, not only for the the private sector, but they should also contribute the government in order to help other people, because taxes, I am an employee, at the same time I am a student. But what I can say is, for example, if you're an employee, you pay taxes, correct? So if you pay taxes, that means that taxes, the government gather all the taxes of the Filipino people. And imagine how many Filipino people living here in our country, millions, 31 million or more. And then for example, the employed Filipinos is 29 million. So if you converted that one, for example, in every month, 200 times 31 million or 32 million, imagine how big the taxes gather the government. So that's the when the government collected the taxes, they also help people that is poorest of the poor, people that are need, and also the students that are free tuition, or politicians help the allowance of the students. So that's also the set example. It's also like give and receive. Your employee, you pay your taxes, you give it to the government, and the government also help other people that are needed help. So it should be used in a good way, so that Filipino people should have a good, they will improve their way of living. So the next is section 21, state shall promote comprehensive rural development and agrarian reform. By the word agrarian reform, not all politicians are focusing, or they've been looking for the welfare of our farmers. But in the new administration, Sara Duterte, which is the vice president, and Bongbong Marcos applied this one into Ilocos Norte, and we hope that since he is the new president in our country, he should also apply it in our country, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And farmers should, the government should gonna find some ways to help the farmers, in order that if they help the equipments needed, crops and everything, the farmers will also help our government. And if we have abundant rice, then why do we get a supply from other country if we have abundant rice? And not also rice production, but it's also about like the vegetables, onions and everything. So government should improve to find ways to help our farmers. And the next one is section 22, the state shall encourage non-governmental, community-based on sectoral organizations that promote the welfare of the nation. So non-governmental, so this is the organization that is not a government, like private sector, companies. Community-based, like in a community, the community should also gonna find ways to participate the government. And the sectoral organizations that promote the welfare of the nation. So in all of it, we should all of us should to make it shorter, all of us should gonna find some ways to promote the welfare of the nation. So it's whole state, it's the whole um, Philippines that gonna need it to find some ways. So it's so sad to think that not all people are gonna find some ways to contribute for helping country, but I hope government should gonna find some ways to help other people, to bring out the potentiality to them, because there are other people who's just gonna waiting to come out their potential. So section 24, the state recognizes the vital role of communication and information in nation building. So communication is very important, and right now it's very digitalized, it's virtual, especially it's still pandemic, and everything is digital. Like if you buy some stuff, there is Shopee, there is Lazada. If you want to buy some food and you don't want to go outside, there is Food Panda, there is Grab, and everything is digitalized. So what I can say about this is, I hope that the government should gonna find some ways regarding for the internet providers, because me myself, I have a Wi-Fi connection and it's very expensive, and sometimes my internet is not that good. So I hope they're gonna find some ways to make it easier for us to use internet connection, affordable, at the same time good connection. So because we still online class, and my work is using Wi-Fi also, so it's very important. And there are also other people who make business, online business, so it's very important that the role of communication should gonna find some ways to that. Like if you wanted to communicate family members or friends, right now it's through messenger, correct? So it's very important that the state should gonna find some ways in vital role of communication and information in nation building. Section 25, the state shall ensure the autonomy of local governments. So by the word local governments, ensure the autonomy of local governments. So find some ways, not only the especially provinces, the government should gonna find some ways to communicate with them, to reach out to them, because province, they are left behind compared to the cities. So that's what I can say. So section 26, the state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. So it's also important, because public service, prohibit political dynasties. For example, if the father is a politician, and then the child and the next generation going into politics also, then the grandchildren is also entering politics. So prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. But in our government, there are politicians who are applying that one, but I think it's fine as long as the political dynasties will gonna have to find some ways to help the government, not only for benefited for their own welfare. So section 27, the state shall maintain honesty and integrity in the public service and take positive and effective measures against graft and corruption. So we all know that Philippines is active for graft and corruption, and who made that one? Politicians. They're gonna make some projects and it's worth millions, and they deduct or got the amount and making some false computations and everything. So the government should gonna find some ways regarding to this one, that they will gonna trace down who is the corrupt politicians or the officials that are into our government. So section 28, subject to reasonable conditions prescribed by law, the state adopts and implements a policy of full public disclosure in its transactions involving public interest. So by the word public interest, by the welfare of the public interest, not only for the people, private sector, but also the rights for the public. So article 3, Bill of Rights. So actually it's very long, I'll just gonna make it shorter. Why there is a Bill of Rights? Because as a Filipino people, we should have our rights. Not only by ourselves, but it's also like, for example, the property, houses, papers, our work, and private sector, wherever we are, there is Bill of Rights. And it's very important and it's very helpful that there is a Bill of Rights, because by this one, we have freedom of speech, expression, press, right of the people. So it's very important. That's why there is a Bill of Rights. But if I'm gonna state it, it will take me too long for me to explain, but I'm just gonna make it shorter. Why there is a Bill of Rights? Number one, Bill of Rights. We Filipinos, we have rights. There is a law, there is a police to maintain peace and order that the criminals will be lessened. If there is a criminal, it will be caught, given the divine justice. Also, there is a writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended except in cases of invasion of rebellion. So by the word rebellion, NPAs, so it's not a good one. So that's why we should strengthen our military forces. So that's why students should gonna participate ROTC. And right now, the one who in the education is Sara Duterte, which is our vice president, newly elected vice president. So we Filipinos, we should not interfere or to the point that we are against the government just because who is the elected president, elected vice president. But we should gonna help our government, and we should pray that everything work well and our government will gonna be like in the other country, because other country, for example Japan, before they are poor, but right now look what happened to them. It's very their country was very